while Hakeem Ambali, President, National Union of Local Government Employees, as well as Arise analyst and lawyer Frank Tietie joins me now for more on this. Gentlemen, good to see you both, and thanks for your time. Let's start with Hakeem, and first let us have your reaction to this all-important news in Nigeria.
Well, I say congratulations to Nigerians. We have a date with history today. We thank God Almighty. It's a dream come true. Today is significant. It is historic. It's a very good news. We also want to commend the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, for show of courage, political courage and wisdom in resolving this problem that has bedeviled Nigeria and plunged Nigeria to the brink of collapse. In the last 20 years, 2 decades ago, we've been battling with this problem. And we believe that Supreme Court, as a court of finality, has spoken. And that has been decided. This judgment is expected to usher in tremendous growth and development in Nigeria. There will be a lease of life at the rural areas and communities at large. The political pressure on the governors will become reduced. It's a win-win situation. Local government will return to the glorious era whereby services are delivered and dividends of democracy are delivered to Nigerian people, whereby infrastructural gap will be reduced, whereby functional health and educational services will become the order of the day, whereby local government will continuously hold security meetings to carry out proactive policing and intelligence gathering, whereby all security outfits at the various local government level will become more harnessed, more organized, and competent people will be recruited, kitted, and monitored and remunerated to carry out community policing, whereby rural routes will be opened up and there will be transportation of goods and services across the rural communities, and rural economy will witness tremendous improvement. Our belief is that this will also lead to creation of vocational skill acquisition and empowerment for rural women and youth, and poverty will be reduced to the barest minimum.
Okay, Hakeem Ambali, just let me comment here. Hakeem Ambali, well, good thing you started off on that note. Let me come in here and bring in a lawyer and Rise News analyst, Frank Tietie. Frank, time for us to talk about the the uniqueness of this particular judgment that we're all excited about.
We are indeed excited because where it appeared impossible because the letters of the Constitution made it quite difficult for the National Assembly to carry out this kind of amendment, that amendment that was clearly meant to cure a mischief. We had dealt with it before. This is now another signpost of how much democracy in action can actually resolve problems. And in this case, we are looking at the Supreme Court that has employed such, skillful manner in interpreting the Constitution against the clear provisions of the letters to solving a problem that was bedeviling the Nigerian democracy. Now, there is so much excitement in the air across the country today, but there's not much optimism as Honorable Hakeem is painting it as if that overnight we are going to witness a sort of El Dorado. We're still going to deal with the problems of electing those local government council operators from the chairman to the councillors. If they don't have that kind of sense of service, it will be a fiasco. However, whereas the excitement is pervading the air, we know a group of persons as we speak whose voices and thoughts have been reflected in the person of Chief James Ibori, the former governor of Delta State, who is crying foul at the decision of the Supreme Court. However, the Supreme Court, most of the times, as we have often argued, does not actually, make decisions only according to the written law. It's a policy court. It's a court that's in touch with the Nigerian people. It's a court that understands that the local government system is failing. And we also have a very smart Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, I must give it to him for coining these questions and invoking the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, which could not be faulted by the many, attorney generals of the order of the state. In this case, we have now realized that indeed the judiciary exists to actually cure problems and solve conflicts whenever they arise. Unfortunately, it is only when you bring matters to them that they can assume such jurisdiction. It is now clear that judges indeed, especially the Supreme Court, can make law and unmake law, and that is what they have just done.
All right, okay, let's come back to you, Hakeem Ambali. You're the president of the Union of Local Government Employees, and this excitement will actually be in the mud if we don't address some of the key concerns raised by Tietie. It has to do with the election of council chairpersons and councillors. How do you think Nigeria can then navigate this before we come back to the funding that would be coming to the elective officers?
Yes, thank you very much. Even if they allow INEC to conduct local government election, without financial autonomy at local government level, we will render so-called political leaders impotent. They will have been financially crippled. So our belief is that once we have direct funding, and allocation meant for local government are published monthly, coupled with the financial security as a result of NFIU guideline and other internal control mechanism, it will be practically difficult for state political actors to just give a directive and dictate what happened in the local government level. Number two, the fear of local government chairmen and political leaders have been that of tenure insecurity. Once the Supreme Court judgment has affirmed that no tier of government has utmost power to utterly sack or dissolve democratically elected political leadership, with that two level of security that is contained in that judgment, we are better off. And I listened to lawyers saying that it's excitement, not about practicability of it. We are quick to forget that this local government autonomy we are talking about has been in existence since 1990. We have gone through this way once. We saw the practicability of it, how practicable it is, how operational it has become. That was during the era of DFRI, Director of Food, Road and Rural Infrastructure, when local government were able to open up community roads, when we had the era of functional health services, primary health care at local government level, when we have women empowerment and youth empowerment. Local government then was able to give scholarship. And about the insecurity that has corroded Nigeria, during that era, when we had this autonomy, it is the factor there. Local government hold regularly security meetings, whereby non-natives, the natives, security agents are called together. They carry out intelligence gathering, and they are very proactive. So what we are saying is not novel. It has been operational before. We have witnessed it before. We are confident and we are optimistic that we will return to that glorious era. Thank you.
First days of grassroots governance in Nigeria. Time for us to get back to Tietie and unpack what the responsibilities truly are as it obtains in our constitution. Tietie, what truly are the functions of local government in Nigeria?
The functions of the local governments in Nigeria are embedded in the fourth schedule of the Constitution, and they are very clear. And to my mind, they are actually the barometer, the measuring stick for determining the quality of life of any country. And it's exciting to note that state governments have always tried to, incur into the areas where local government are supposed to have a sort of exclusive responsibility. The one that excites me the most in the fourth schedule is the construction and maintenance maintenance of roads, provision of streets and street lights, and then provision of slaughterhouses, markets, and the very things that we travel abroad to go try and get.
Let me cut you here, Frank. Did you say construction of roads?
Exactly. Yes, that's the first. That's the first and one of the most important, functions of local government. And then licensing and even the registration of marriages. The federal government has got no business, setting up federal marriage registries across the entire country. It's got no business. It's got to stop. The local government actually determines, to the ordinary Nigerian, whether or not he has government. And what you see, there is excitement. And the good thing is this: you will not find the sort of a decongestion of the political arena at the federal and state level. People in Abuja will begin to travel back home now in the hope that they want to take part in town hall meetings, they want to take part in security meetings, they want to determine the destiny of their people. Nigerians in diaspora will now take interest in liaising with local government councils because they know that whatever the decisions reached at that point will have immediate and direct impact on the people. This is very progressive, as the Supreme Court has indeed said. Because if you look at the panoply of functions of local government in the fourth schedule, you realize that you will even wonder why the federal government takes a chunk of the federation monies in the federation account. You would expect that the local government should actually take most of the money because that is where all of the services actually are to the people.
And Frank, before we come back to Ambali quickly, I'd like to throw this in. Isn't the judgment in conflict with Section 1626 of the 1999 Constitution as amended? Frank?
Yes, it is in direct conflict. But you recall, Sly, you see, I try to give us a lesson in elementary law. And that is in terms of interpreting law. Sometimes there is what we call the mischief rule. That is, the judge or the justices will be faced with a situation where there is a clear problem in direct contravention with what is written. However, the judges are human beings. They will now interpret the law as if they were in the minds of those who wrote the law. And then they will say, no, this, however, whatever is written, they will not apply the strict literal construction approach. They will apply an approach in interpreting it that will cure the problem, and it's called the mischief rule. So what the Supreme Court has done, even though Justice Hakeem has referred to it as a progressive interpretation of the law, is actually the application of the mischief rule, curing a mischief. That is, they can rewrite the law entirely. Judges made law, and we stand by it, because the elementary schools of law tell you that, you see, the realist school tells you that whatever proceeds out of the mouth of the court, the prophecies of what the court will do, are in fact pretentiously nothing what I refer to as law. So it is what has proceeded out of the mouth of the justices of the Supreme Court today, irrespective of whatever the letter is in the Supreme Court, that is now law. Interestingly, only the Supreme Court will one day realize that if this state governors particularly, wake up from this abuse of the local government system, this same Supreme Court can rewrite the law and interpret it according to either the provisions of Section 7 or provisions of Section 162 of the Constitution.
And Hakeem, Ambali, the fear here is what we have always witnessed within states, hashtag Rivers State and so many other states. People also fear that this may also be the problem of grassroots governance. How do we ensure, for instance, that the monies that will now go directly to the councils are not diverted or used for something else by these same officers so elected?
Yes. You see, the beauty of this is that the ground has been well prepared by the decision on the judgment by lower court and court of appeal that decided how to apply local government fund using the template of NFIU guideline. That is number one. Number two is because of the power of the state governors to actually sack political leadership that has put them under fear. They have been cajoled, they have been coerced to lose their sovereignty. You realize that at the local government level, we have the legislative arm, we have the budget for local government, which has been distorted over time. And the power to carry out monitoring role by the legislative has been eroded and removed. And again, don't forget that we have the FOI bill now that give power to even journalists and individuals to demand for how the fund is being applied. Number four is that the anti-corruption agencies are now partnering with even NOGI and civil society group. Number 5 is that we are in an era of social, that you can use social media to also monitor what is happening. It is not like before that anybody can do anything and get away with it. We have also the whistleblower that has been empowered to do a lot of things. What is left is that the community must know the allocation that is appropriated for their councils so that they will be able to hold their leaders accountable. So our belief is that all of us must be proactive. And just like the barrister said, once we have this kind of financial autonomy, it will draw some competent and independent-minded leaders and achievers to local governance. And that is the beauty of democracy. So our belief is that we are happy, we are excited, and we are sure because we are past that way once. And all of us has a role to play. Are we saying that even at the state level or federal level, they are angels? Don't we have all these infractions there? And when you look at that and you look at the quality of leadership, political leader at local government level, they can stand at par with any other person. People like you, citizen journalists, people like the barrister at that place will now show interest, as they are showing interest now. And some people are saying that the judgment is incorrect with the Constitution. Those who are saying that are not correct. Look at Section 162 subsection 5. It does not give absolute power to House of Assembly alone to prescribe our local government fund at disbursed. It gave that power to National Assembly too. Look at Section 1, that no individual shall hijack or corner any part of this country. So what the state government has been doing is to make sure they hijack the fund meant for local government.
I'd like to close on a
so
lighter...
when you look at all that,
yes, Hakeem Ambali, just let me come in here. Let's... apologies for buttoning, Hakeem Ambali. I want to close on a lighter but very serious note. I bring in Frank Tietie. I see that Hakeem is still on. Perhaps maybe you can't hear me, but if you can, just let me throw this in. If you recall then, that the now rested drama series, The Village Headmaster, painted every scenario you've just highlighted. And one of the most important personality was the character Councillor Balogun. So Frank Tietie, help us, how can the separation of power within the grassroots governance in Nigeria be highlighted as we move on to bettering our lot?
Well, you see, the local government system in this country is meant to operate as a democratic system based on Section 7. And the famous character you refer to was more of an activist. And he was always putting the government of that, the government of that council on its toes. Even the traditional council. And he was seen to be always on the side of probity. So expectedly, there is that sort of division of governance at that local level will engender a lot of interest and development, more especially when every member of the local government, as Honorable Hakeem has said, can not only use the social media but will use freedom of information laws, because as we have progressive states like Delta State that have already got freedom of information law, because you cannot really apply the Freedom of Information Act at the federal level to every part of Nigeria. So we're also expecting that states will enact such laws. And then we can't now see activist persons, especially going as councillors, because even secondary school leavers in my days could just go contest election and become councillors, while the rest of us went to the university. So we're going to see very interesting times for development for our people based on this judgment.
Well, interesting times, no doubt, and a very big one there for President Bola Tinubu to actually see how he can activate other parts of our national life to ensure that true federalism is enshrined in our polity. We'd like to thank you for your time, Frank Tietie and Hakeem Ambali. Many thanks.